With both of the PlayStation Plus and Xbox Live Games with Gold titles being revealed for the month of December, the final month of the year, it is time for December's edition of PlayStation Plus versus Xbox Live Games with Gold. As always with the Plus titles, we are looking at all of the games playable on the PlayStation 4 with the Xbox One titles. Because of backwards compatibility, we are going to be looking at the 360 offerings, as well as this time around, you're actually getting an original Xbox game, so that's pretty cool. Without further ado, let's get started, and we'll kick things off with the PlayStation Plus offerings. And with the month of December, a lot of you guys were disappointed by Plus, but I was relatively pleased. And the first of the two games highlighting the month is Soma. Soma is a survival horror game by Frictional Games, and they're very familiar with survival horror experiences. They created the very iconic Amnesia: The Dark Descent, but in my eyes, Soma is an even better game. Strange occurrences are disrupting the routines of the Pathos 2 remote research facility. It's underwater. Behavioral anomalies of the machines are increasingly dangerous, if not malevolent. The facility is devolving into chaos, no weapons, and the only escape is practically unthinkable. Soma is a survival horror game that really captures that essence of horror, and I would say it would have been better if we got this game back in October. They decided to give us Friday the 13th that month. I thought it would have been much more timely to offer Soma that month, but hey, it is what it is. It's still a great survival horror title, and a game that still goes for like $6 to $7 even during a PlayStation Store sale, so I would say this is quite good, and it does have a 79 on Metacritic, but in my eyes, that's a little bit underrated.
Told us this could happen.
Next up, another pretty solid PlayStation 4 game, and this one's a relatively recent release. It's Onrush. Onrush is an arcade racer that has you race, smash, and take down your opponents in a break from the normal action arcade racing. You'll have to be reckless and win at all costs. It's a very chaotic racer, something resemblant of, say, MotorStorm, and MotorStorm was a fantastic franchise on the PlayStation 3. Codemasters were the guys behind this game, and they also created the excellent Dirt franchise. Unfortunately, from a commercial standpoint, it really doesn't seem to be all there. This is a very, very recent release, so a game going from this recent of a release to a PlayStation Plus title, kind of an indictment on how it's doing from a commercial standpoint, but critically it was received pretty well, and if you want a quality arcade racer, this will have you covered. It's got a 76 on Metacritic, and that's a pretty good score.
One gate might be all that separates you. Control, that's what lockdown is all about. When a zone appears, you gotta race and fight your way to get your team inside that zone to control it. To get the edge on the opposition, you need to use every dirty trick in the book.
Now, those are the two games that Sony really promoted as the Plus titles, but what a lot of gamers are missing out is one of the great PlayStation Vita cross-buy titles that is fully playable on the PlayStation 4, and that is the 2D platformer in Iconoclasts. You can make a legitimate argument that Iconoclasts is the best of the three games that's going to be offered with Plus next month, and this is the game that Sony isn't even promoting. A lot of gamers don't even know this is being included, but it's a great 2D platformer with its Metroidvania elements, and you join renegade mechanic Robin and uncover the secrets of a dying planet. It has a big world with a lot of puzzles, interesting characters, and bosses. Now, from a technical standpoint, of course, it's not on the level of, say, Soma or Onrush, but from a gameplay standpoint, it's definitely great, and this has an 83 on Metacritic. So while a lot of you guys were rather disappointed by the Plus offerings for December, I see a lot of you guys bring up that next month is Christmas, so you just expected something of higher quality, but Soma's a great game. Onrush is a very recent release. The only downside about Onrush is you can make an argument in the comparison between Plus and games with Gold. Onrush is a game that's available with a Game Pass subscription, so it's not like the value of that game is all there, but it's still a high quality game. And then again, with Iconoclasts, that's a game hardly anyone is talking about, and it's a rather good 2D platformer. But those are the Plus offerings. Now let's move on to what Xbox One players are getting with games with Gold. First up, you got Q.U.B.E 2, and most will make comparisons to Portal with Q.U.B.E. A lot of gamers will say it's a lesser quality Portal, but Portal is so incredible that it's kind of hard to reach that quality threshold. Q.U.B.E is a good game in its own right, and Q.U.B.E 2's core mechanics and game design is definitely there. If you want a quality puzzle game in the vein of Portal, I think you're gonna find that with Q.U.B.E 2. It's got a 76 on Metacritic. Next up, we have Never Alone. Never Alone is a pretty artistic and story-driven game. It's an atmospheric puzzle platformer that explores the harsh and dynamic world of Alaska Native stories. Never Alone isn't an absolutely perfect game, but it seems like those that have played the game have actually thoroughly enjoyed it, and it's a game that going into it, you didn't have a lot of high expectations, so if you just go into Never Alone with an open mind, I think you will be pretty satisfied. It's got a 73 on Metacritic. Next up, let's go over the lone Xbox 360 title next month for Xbox Live Games with Gold subscribers, and that is Dragon Age 2. Now, I think the majority of gamers would agree that Dragon Age 2 is not quite as good of a game as Dragon Age Origins. Dragon Age Origins had a lot more depth to its gameplay. Dragon Age 2 moved to a more action-oriented style, which you can make an argument had pleased console gamers at the time, but I would say even looking back at it, console gamers were displeased at the transition of Dragon Age 2. It's still a pretty good action RPG, but I put an emphasis on the action part of action RPG. At that time, BioWare was just putting out so many great games, from Dragon Age Origins to the early Mass Effect games. Dragon Age 2 didn't really hold up to those games, but it's a pretty fun action RPG nonetheless, with a pretty decent story and some of those BioWare elements that you know and love. Dragon Age 2 has a 79 on Metacritic, and I would say that's pretty accurate.
And you need the one person who could help you put it back together.
As I mentioned, Dragon Age 2 is the lone Xbox 360 title, as most months you do get two 360 titles, but this month instead they are offering an OG Xbox title. Specifically, they are offering Mercenaries Playgrounds of Destruction. Now, this was a very well-received game when it was released back on the PlayStation 2 and Xbox. It's an open-world game, but a very early open-world game, so have your expectations in line. I know a lot of us are spoiled by recent open-world offerings like Red Dead Redemption 2, The Witcher 3, even games like Grand Theft Auto 5. Mercenaries released all the way back in 2005, so have your expectations in line, but it kind of gives you a good idea of where the fundamental design of open world games came from. Of course, Mercenaries Playgrounds of Destruction did spawn a sequel in Mercenaries 2, but many would agree that the first game was the better of the two, and the Metacritic score shows it's got a very impressive 86.
Trucks in a row just because I can.
I will be grossly overpaid for doing things I'd probably do for free.
I am a mercenary.
I am a mercenary.
I'm a mercenary, and I love my job.
Mercenaries Playground of Destruction in stores January 13th, rated T for Teen. You are a mercenary in a playground of destruction. Hijack any vehicle. Use any weapon. Blow up anything.
Now, this is a little bit of a hard month to judge. You only had 3 games on the plus side of things, where you had 4 with Xbox One games with gold. However, I would offer you that the plus games are of higher quality, and being more recent game releases has to have me side with PlayStation Plus. Soma is a very good game, and as I mentioned, even when it goes on sale, it still is like $7 and change, or around that price range. Onrush, again, is a very, very recent release, and yes, it is offered with Xbox's Game Pass program, but hey, if you're not subscribed to Game Pass, you're not getting the game, and Iconoclasts is a game that people really aren't giving the recognition it deserves. You can make a legit argument that it's the best of the 3 game offerings. Games with gold isn't bad, but even more so than the top plus offerings in Soma and Onrush, and it seemed like some gamers were disappointed by those. I think a lot of Xbox Live subscribers are going to be disappointed by Q.U.B.E and Never Alone, because they are more niche and smaller experiences. Dragon Age 2, a good game, but it really pales in comparison to Origins. And while Mercenaries Playgrounds of Destruction was well received back in 2005, I think a lot of people will go into it seeing a dated experience, and that 86 on Metacritic, while good for the time, I do believe it hasn't aged all that well, so that could be a little bit misleading. So for the month of December, I do have to side with PlayStation Plus's offerings, but let me know what you guys think. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Are you displeased with both services' offerings for the month of December? We love to hear what you guys think, and as always, sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.